So you're thinking about buying some land in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Even if it's residential, commercial, agriculture, you need to watch this video first. There are some big things you need to know before you buy land in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and we'll talk about it as we walk this property. I think everybody's big dream is to buy your own land and build your own custom house on that property. Trust me, I have that dream also. I definitely understand where you're coming from. But unfortunately, it doesn't always happen as the way we plan it. In a perfect world, you buy the land, you find a builder, lay out your blueprints, all that good stuff. So there are going to be a few obstacles you're going to have to tackle. First one being financing. You have to ask yourself, are you going to pay cash for the land or are you going to get a loan for the land? If it's going to be a loan, make sure you combine the loan with your construction home if you're planning on putting a home there. This will save you time and money. And we'll get more into construction loan and construction-to-perm loans in just a few minutes. The next loan I talk about is going to be a raw land loan. Now this loan is only for if you are planning no developments at all on this property at this time maybe. Plan no developments, you have no electricity, you have no sewer, you have no water out there. Now these type of loans are typically higher risk for banks. So they're going to ask you for a bigger deposit and probably a very good credit score. Next loan I talk about is going to be unimproved land loans. And this loan is for some land with development. And the land may have some partial utilities like electricity, water, obviously. And these are less risk for the banks, but they still sometimes require a good down payment and a good credit score. The next loan is improved land loans. And this is for fully developed lands that has utilities, waters, sewers. View this as even less risky than unimproved land loans because it's so developed and they may require 10 to 20% down. Really depends on a lender you speak to. So next thing I talk about is what are your intentions for the land you're going to purchase? Are you purchasing it for building a house? Is it commercial? Is it agriculture? Is it all three possibly? You have to decide, make sure the land is zoned for what you want it for. So for purposes of the video, I usually mostly do residential. So you got to make sure it's zoned for residential properties. And of course, if you're buying something like, if you're not putting a house there and maybe doing some agriculture too, definitely make sure it is zoned for both. And you should definitely do some research. Just because you're buying the land now, maybe in the future, something nearby is going to be developed as commercial and you plan on putting a house there. So definitely look at future developments. Because if you don't look at future developments, they could impact your future land value and maybe even what uses you can use it for in the future. So definitely something you would want to check out. Now we're going to talk about what type of loans you should get if you're getting a residential home. So we've got construction loan and we have construction-to-perm loan. So what a construction home is typically it's for a property that's going to be more of a spec house. And those are your spec house, cookie cutter homes as some people call them. And typically the house is going to be built within a year. So typically the lender is going to ask for blueprints or detailed constructions of what type of home you want to build here. Like I said, typically the construction loan is for a spec home that's take less than a year to build. So next loan I talk about is going to be a construction-to-perm loan. And this type of loan is when you're building the house, so it's under construction, and then it's finally complete, then it turns into a loan. And this type of loan will save you money because it's all one loan and you only have to pay one closing cost at closing. So your loan could be locked into construction phase and in the loan phase. The builder will draw that money as construction starts and you should only have to pay interest rate on the money withdrawn. If your loan is, for instance, let's say your loan is $500,000, you can't go above that, but you can go lower than that. Your loan could be locked in construction phase and in the loan phase. The builder will draw that money as construction starts, and you should only pay the interest rate on the money withdrawn. For example, let's say you get a house, let's say you get a construction-to-perm loan, that's $500,000. And you build a house, you can't go above $500,000 because you've got a budget of $500,000. You can go below it. So let's say the house is $450,000, and let's say the builder or developer is going to take $100,000 first, start building your property. You only have to pay interest on what he withdrew. So if he drew $100,000 to start, you only pay interest on that first $100,000, not the entire $450,000. And of course, as time goes on, a couple more months go by, he's going to withdraw some more money, let's say another $100,000. Now you're paying interest on $200,000. And this also saves the bank. You want to make sure the developer you're hiring or home builder you're buying is, they want to make sure it's not a scam. He's not going to run off with your money off to Bermuda or any place like that. So that's why they give them limits amounts of money. Also be aware things like materials could increase in cost as they're building your home. In my opinion, again, $450 or less. You don't want to go too high because that could definitely hurt issues if you're looking at building a 5-bedroom home that's 4,000 square feet, let's say, and you're right at that point of 500,000. Next important thing is going to be access to utilities. So if you are building this home, even for commercial or residential, you got to make sure you've got, you're going to have water supplies or access to water supplies, and it's not going to cost you tons of money. So definitely if you're buying a property within the city limits, you should have access to city water and sewer. If you're in a rural area, you're probably gonna have to either get a septic tank or a well or both. And if you are getting a well or a septic, they have to percolate the land. Basically what that means is they have to dig for water to make sure, if let's say you buy 2 acres of land and you want to put your house on the first acre, they're going to percolate the land to make sure that they can get you water for your well. And I would definitely do that before you even while you're under contract during your due diligence period, because what you don't want to spend money on percolation or not spend money on percolation, and let's say you buy this land and now you can't even put a house there because it didn't percolate, and you just bought 2 acres of land, or how many acres of land you bought for no reason. And let's say you're buying this to put 2 or 3 homes on it. They're definitely going to have to percolate each part of the land that you want to put a house on. So say you buy 5 acres of land and you want to put 2 homes there, 2.5 each acre for you and somebody else. They're gonna have to percolate where you want that house to be. And also goes for septic tank also. So you definitely have to get it percolated for both. Typically percolation tests can be paid for. You can pay the county or city to do it. Last time I checked, and it's been quite a few months, so things can change at the time when you're watching this video, but I would recommend a third party. They're a little quicker and faster, and at getting those things, because what you don't want to be is under contract for 2, 3, 4 months because the city or county is so behind, and they're on their own schedule, not on your schedule. So definitely that's something you want to think about. Next thing to talk about is going to be electric and gas. So definitely you want to make sure if you're in the city, you should have easy access to electricity or gas, because it's being built in the city limits. But again, if you're in a rural area, as you probably know, you're going to need to make sure before you close on this property that you have access to these things, or how close you are. It could become costly if you're too far away from it. Let's say your frontage is 100 feet. Let's say you buy some property and you got 100 feet of frontage and the gas line is 300 feet away. You're going to have to pay the county to extend, to that power line, and that could become very costly, a couple $1,000s I've seen. So definitely you want to make sure of all this before you buy that land. Next thing I definitely would recommend is soil testing and environmental testing. You definitely want to test the soil to make sure it's good for construction. Again, don't buy some property and hang on to it for a couple of years and then realize you can't even build anything on it. And then you'd have to either go and sell it or just hang on to it. And we have a lot of clay in North Carolina, red clay. So you definitely want to make sure you can build this property on clay, on some type of clay, or even just soil in general, of course. And this also goes right back to septic and wells. Even if you can't build a house there, the percolation test, if you're on clay, how far can you really go down into the ground? You want to make sure all these factors are taken care of before you close on this property. Definitely be mindful of environmental restrictions. What you don't want to do is buy some property that's on wetlands, flood zones, or protected habitats, because that definitely could hurt you in the future if you plan on building something there. Definitely wetlands and flood zones. You definitely want to check those out. Check your FEMA maps. You should be talking to a realtor if you're looking at buying some land, to have he or she do all this for you. Just to give you a little horror story. I helped a friend of mine build a house almost a year ago. Brand new construction home, spec built. They already had everything all laid out to build the house. And we had a bad hurricane a few weeks ago, and he started getting flooded in his yard. And then he called me and told me what the issue was going on. He's talking to the builder. They're not doing much. Long story short, kind of find out the developer of this house, the builders, they built on wetlands. And these wetlands are federally protected. So this builder built land on this property, built a residential house on this property. It did not have the permission of the Federal Reserve. So of course, unfortunately, he's going through I had to go through a court battle through that, of course, and sue them. He doesn't want to live there anymore. He's there with his young family, his 2 girls, his wife, and it's a big hassle, and I feel bad for him. So definitely, even if you've got a builder or developer who's building on land, I could say do your research, and sometimes those things you can't, you're just trusting the developer, the builder, which I totally understand. I trusted this person too. I've built homes with this developer before. I'm not gonna say their names. And things like, I hate to say things like this happen, but they didn't do their part. They didn't check this stuff out. They should have done all this. Next thing you definitely want to do is check your surveys. If you're buying several acres of land, you will definitely want to get a survey. Sometimes if you're buying a whole bunch of land, that's going to be costly, because as the surveyor goes out there, he's going to check all this land. I couldn't tell you the price. It's going to be a couple $1,000s. But if you're definitely, buying 1 or 2, 3 acres, maybe a little more, you definitely want to check your surveys, make sure no one else is on your property, and for easements also, because definitely checking for easements can limit your land use. You could be near a gas line or a septic line, and also you don't want to encroach on someone else's property. So if you're looking at building a fence or planting some trees or anything like that, you want to make sure you're not imposing on someone else's property, or vice versa. Let's say you buy the land and then you get a survey done, and then you find out somebody is planted or put a fence up on your property. And also the biggest thing is, if you're building a house there and you want to make sure there's no can you get to your house? Just because you bought the land, is there an easement going to your property? You have to build a road, a driveway, whatever. You want to make sure there's access to it. Could be a good chance that to get to the property, you have to go through someone else's property. You have that permission of that person. Definitely get it on writing in front of an attorney, all that good stuff. But that could become an issue. I've never had that happen to any of my clients, but I've heard the horror stories. So with easements, you want to make sure you have the right to be on their property. If there's an easement, to get to your property, you may have to go through someone else's property to do that. Definitely make sure that's all in the contract and the deed, whatever the case may be. Next thing is going to be land topography and preparation. So we have a lot of hills in North Carolina, especially where I live at near Fayetteville and the surrounding areas. So we're called the sand hills, and it's because we have a lot of hills. So definitely you want to make sure if you're buying some land, if it does have some hills or slopes, are you able to still build on that? Can you build on that? You definitely want to buy something that you can't even use. And let's say you can build on it, and then you have to do some grading to it. You got to make it level. This could become costly, because you can call in, trucks to lay everything out, flatten everything out, and this could become expensive. To definitely make sure if you buy the land, if it just has some slopes and hills, that this is not a problem in the future. Definitely get an estimate of how much it may cost. Another big thing is going to be land clearing. So like you look at a property behind me, you got some highways behind me. It's pretty much cleared out, but not all of it is cleared out. So for these trees behind me, how much is that going to cost to clear out? I do know some people who are buying lumber, and they may come out and pay you to clear it out and take care of it, but it's not a lot. It depends on the trees. If it's pine trees, typically they're not going to do that. You definitely have to do research on that. But how much it costs to clear the land? How much are you going to pay to clear the land? How much of the land do you want to clear? Acres, a lot, 2 lots, 3 lots. Definitely something to think about. Next thing we talk about is access to road maintenance. And this kind of goes back to the easements just a little bit. So road access, make sure there's legal access to the property by the public or by a private road. For some private roads, confirm who's responsible for the maintenance of this property. And a good example is this. I help a lot of people buy homes out in rural areas, and they're on a dirt road, and it's a private road. I mean, it's legal. It's not maintained by the city. So a lot of problems I've seen happen, and it happened to some of my clients, and we were able to work it out. But let's say you buy a house on this private road, and there's 5 homes on this property and a few acres of land that are just empty. And you're looking to buy this house. It's already built there maybe. Or even if you're gonna build something there. Long story short, now you gotta see who, the loan company, they're wondering who is maintaining this road to your house. Because let's say, a good rainstorm comes by or a hurricane or anything like that, Mother Nature, and now this road is destroyed, or there's some debris in this road, or there's potholes in this road, or just, it gets muddy. Who's maintaining this road? They wanna know, because I'm not gonna give you a loan for this property or this house. It's gonna depreciate the value of the home, which in turn is gonna hurt your loan. They're scared that this could turn your house could depreciate and to less than what they're going to loan you. This happened to me a couple years ago with some clients where they were buying a house. It was already built. They've been there for several years, and we had to get each owner on that road to sign off saying we will maintain this road. And sometimes some people are saying, hey, we'll maintain it, but we're not putting anything on paper that we'll maintain it. Some owners of the land are like, no, we maintain it, but you're not getting me to put anything on paper, because they don't want to be responsible if they decide to move or whatever the case may be. So this can be really tough. So definitely make sure that you're good there. And it goes right back to easements. Do you have access to this road, to this driveway? Things like that. You would definitely need a permit for a driveway, especially if it connects to a public road. So make sure you can, zone commercially, zone residentially or commercial really, and make sure if it connects to a private road, if the land is, the frontage is 100 feet, you want to make sure you have a driveway permit. So definitely you want to walk the land that you're going to purchase, just like we're doing today. And you want to make sure that you walk it when it's dry. Obviously walk it when it's wet, snowy, whatever the case may be. If a bad hurricane came through, like last couple weeks ago, we had a bad hurricane, and I was under contract for several properties, and I went out there with the owners to make sure the house was still there, and make sure it didn't get flooded, and make sure there's no leaking in the house or anything like that. So you definitely want to make sure of that, because right now it could look great, but if a bad rainstorm comes through, definitely, especially with flooding or flash floods, you want to make sure you're not buying something that is just basically a paperweight, and you can't use the land at all. Or if you decide to build there, this could be an issue. You're gonna have to find a way to fix it. I would definitely recommend finding an agent that knows a lot about land and how to purchase land, and explain to them what your intentions are with this land, whether it be residential, commercial, agriculture, or maybe a combination of two of them, like residential and agriculture. If you have any questions about this video, or if you think about buying some land in the Fayetteville surrounding areas, please reach out to the team and me. We would love to help you. All my information is on the screen in front of you, and it'll be in the description below. And I answer every phone call, email, text message personally. Definitely check out this next video that YouTube recommends to you, and I'll see you guys over there.